Hello and welcome back to another review and recap for The Traitors Season 4, this time only one episode, Episode 6. Maybe I'm just getting used to doing multiple episodes in a week, but this particular episode seemed pretty calm. That is until we get to the Roundtable, which was one of the best roundtables of the season thus far. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about what happens in this episode, starting where last episode left off, which were the Traitors in Traitors Tower. Rob is telling Lisa and Candace that Colton is onto Lisa being a traitor. Lisa and Candace want to take out Colton that night, but there's a huge caveat that everybody will be safe unless at least one person took a shield from last mission. We're left in the dark about that decision until we get to next morning's breakfast, where all but 4 players are down at breakfast. The 4 players that are missing are Colton, Johnny, Eric, and Dorinda. However, the last batch of players comes down to breakfast, and lo and behold, Colton is with them. Everybody is safe, and that's where we go to a flashback where Alan meets up with the Traitors at the tower, saying that nobody took the shield, nobody was tempted. Now, to me, that is no surprise, but it's a little disappointing because I would have loved to seen somebody shake it up, take a shield, and let's keep the ball rolling here. Now, after breakfast, we get a little bit of game talk from everybody. We go to the kitchen where Steven is talking to a group of players, asking if Ron is still the #1 target next roundtable, and everybody seems to be on board. Speaking of Ron, him and Rob are bonding over a game of chess. I will say that I truly liked that we got a really good edit of Ron this past week, because I just felt like over the past couple of episodes, Ron has been under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, that I was worried about his mental health, but it was really nice to see him in this episode laughing and smiling, specifically in the chess game. It was just a nice couple of moments of Ron, but it's in this chess game that we hear Rob is having second thoughts about wanting to vote out Ron. This is where we move over to Johnny, who is trying to rally up some faithfuls to all get into a voting block. He has calculated that it takes 8 faithfuls to become a voting block to dominate every single vote from here on out. So the 8 people that he feels he can trust the most right now is Mark, Kristen, Maura, Johnny himself, Tara, Rob, Candace, and Steven. Now, of course, he puts Rob and Candace in there, who are 2 traitors, but I really like that Johnny was like, if we can be 8 strong, we can share information, come up with smart decisions, than just be completely blindsided by one person just rambling off and saying that we should vote this person and do it now. Everybody in this group right now is suspicious of Ron and Colton, feeling like Colton is the ringleader, is the puppet master. And speaking of Colton, we see him do a one-on-one conversation with Natalie where he talks about his suspicions on Lisa. His main evidence is the Portia vote, that housewives are always looking out for other housewives, so why would Lisa on the first vote out a housewife? Natalie also brings up that Lisa didn't vote out Donna, which we know as the audience is that doesn't really hold any water, but they don't know that. And then Colton's other main evidence is that Lisa isn't acting the way I expected her to act in the game, which I have something to say about that, but it comes up more and more as the episode goes on, so I'll save what I have to say about that a little bit later on. Colton and Natalie are talking where other people join them in the room, including the housewives all join in on one group. Colton instantly takes this to call out Lisa and put heat on her in front of everybody, being like, oh, the housewives are all together, so convenient. Oh, Lisa, you're not wearing your sunglasses today. It's so good to be able to see your eyes. To me, this comes off very condescending, and yes, Colton did get it correct that Lisa is a traitor, but the way he's going about it really rubs me the wrong way. But we'll put a pin in that so everybody can go down, meet up with Alan at his creepy cabin for this week's mission. All the players will be sitting in the cabin, and there will be cryptic clues given to them that will point to specific tombstones in the cemetery near the cabin. Once they are given the clues, the cabin door will open, and 2 players will have to run out and have 30 seconds to find the correct tombstone. If they find the correct name, they will add money to their prize fund. Each correct name will give them $3,000. There's a total of $18,000 up for grabs. And can I just say, I love this challenge. This is the best challenge. This is the acclaimed cabin mission that is in like every single season. I love the production design. I'm a huge horror movie fan, as well as I like to go to Halloween horror nights. So this was like a haunted house slash like a scary escape room, and it was so much fun. They were having people with like chainsaws breaking through the windows. They had a random woman come into the room and just start screaming. There was bugs popping out. I love the creativity, and it was just a lot of fun. I loved it so much. My only critique is that there were 6 clues, and by clue 4, they were really rushing things and only showing very small bits of every clue, of them figuring things out. Clue number 1 comes from this teacup Ouija board, which was really well put together. This is the one clue that everybody stumbled on because they kind of assumed what the last letter was going to be slash the last name was going to be, because at first they thought it was Louise Clark, even though the teacup never went to an R, it went to a B. So by the time the door flung open, Candace and Tara ran out of there as quickly as possible, Clark in their mind, while everybody else was trying to say Louise Black. By the time they got to the cemetery, they were able to find Louise Clark and punched in the wrong answer, getting $0. In clue 2, you have blood dripping down the walls, revealing a phrase saying master of none, which Rob said it was a jack of all trades, so they're looking for a jack, as well as there were key letters underlined, revealing stone. So they were looking for Jack Stone. Jam Jam and Maura were able to find the right tombstone, bank $3,000. Clue number 3 had a typewriter math question about Dorothy, Daphne, and Deidre, and which sister is the youngest. Mark and Lisa were able to successfully find Dorothy Darkin, banking in another $3,000. Clue number 4 was Creepy Doll singing the alphabet, where it skipped certain letters, revealing the name Birdie Sing, where Johnny and Dorinda were able to find the tombstone and bank another $3,000. Then there was a clock clue, which they really skipped by this one, but Kristen and Colton were able to find Dale Cross for another $3,000. And finally, clue number 6 involved calendars, where it revealed that Steven and Natalie had to find Valentine's Spring for another $3,000. With all the clues solved, you had 3 people left in the cabin, which was Rob, Eric, and Ron, and Alan told them that the group was able to bank $15,000 and now get back to the castle. So speaking of which, everybody gets back to the castle, grabs some food. There are people talking about, is Ron still the vote? People seem to agree. That is except Rob, who brings up that he just doesn't feel like Ron is a traitor. There's just something about it. He's looked him in his eyes. This seems to blindside both Candace and Lisa, who are like, whoa, what are you doing? You're messing up an easy vote. While that conversation is happening, Johnny is still trying to gather up numbers to vote out Colton. Now, speaking of Colton, he takes the opportunity to talk to Lisa one-on-one. What Colton wanted to do is tell Lisa, I'm gonna vote for Ron, I'm not gonna say your name, but also I wanna make a deal with you. I'll keep you safe at the round table if you keep me safe up at the turret. And he even says, like, I want to win this game with you. And Lisa has to play it off and be like, what are you talking about? I'm a faithful. You're barking up the wrong tree. Which, can I just say, I thought this was a wild way to go about it. Like, is Colton really trying to make a deal? Which, after having watched the episode and taken time to like think about what happened in this episode, I truly believe he did. I think he was trying to make a legit deal to at least make it one more night. Now, I find this really funny because it feels like Colton has no idea that his name is being thrown out there, that there is a whole group of players contemplating whether to vote him out, yet he is in a room one-on-one with Lisa trying to get her to save him, but he's not worried about anybody else or his poor decision making up to this point, which I thought was laughable. This is when everybody gets to the round table. To start off at the round table, Mark opens up the dialogue, feels like Ron can talk and give his side of the story, defend himself, and Ron feels like it's unfair. And I wrote it down here. Ron says he feels everyone has made mistakes in either accusations or votes, and it's unfair. He has to continue to defend himself, which I thought was a really great way of putting it. This is where Colton, of all people, was like, yeah, but if we vote you out, Ron, then we get a little bit more clarity. And I love Ron in this next moment. He claps back at Colton and goes, okay, but do you feel the heat? Are you in the hot seat? Because you've gotten things more wrong than I have. You voted for Portia, which was wrong. You pushed Tiffany, and you also pushed Michael. But nobody blames you for Michael because nobody liked Michael. So you get a free pass on that one. And I just loved it. I was like, yes. Ron, Clark, and Colton opened things up for Kristen and Johnny to say why they're suspicious of Colton as well. Now, we've heard from Kristen in past episodes being like, Colton doesn't ask questions. He hears what conversations are going on, then he reverse engineers it and pushes whatever he wants. Then Johnny says that Colton is the one pushing everything, his own narrative, his own line of thinking, that it comes off less as us as the faithfuls working together to take out traitors, and more so, I feel like a puppet being used for my vote. Which I think is very interesting and shines a light on how flawed of a game Colton is playing. That I feel like, and this is just me having my own perceptions, that I feel like Colton really holds possibly a subliminal hierarchy of players in his mind. Feels like, at least from what Kristen is saying, being like Colton doesn't ask questions, that means that Colton isn't asking Kristen's questions, meaning that he's not asking for her input. Now, Kristen doesn't come from like a Survivor or a reality TV show where you have to gather votes or use a social game or manipulate or lie. She comes from a reality show where you have to have skill. Johnny also doesn't come from a TV show like Survivor. It sounds like Colton doesn't talk to Johnny either. I just thought it was very interesting hearing both Johnny and Kristen being like, you don't ask questions and I feel like a puppet, to Colton, to where now Colton is feeling the hot seat. Now, after Colton says that I've been playing fast and loose and bold because I'm a faithful, why would I play like that if I'm a traitor? Rob then backs up Colton and says, I believe him. Jam Jam also comes to Colton's defense being like, I think Colton is a faithful. I'm getting back to Ron. I'm very suspicious of you, and I think we should vote you out. Ron is like, okay, well, now is my swan song. I'm going to go around the entire table saying something nice about everybody except for Dorinda. And in the middle of him going around, that's when players start having doubts of like, maybe he's not a traitor. So now there's murmurs around the whole table being like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? If it's not Ron, where are we going to vote? That's when Colton fixes himself in the chair, sits up real proud and goes, I have suspicions on Lisa. Throw out that deal that we just had in the billiards room. Now that your butt's in the hot seat and you're feeling the fire and you're possibly being sent home if nobody else is voting Ron, now Colton is starting to go, Lisa could be a traitor. Colton brings up the Portia vote. He brings up that Lisa is not acting the way he expected Lisa to act, even though he claims that he doesn't know much about housewives. But apparently he's heard all these stories. Now, Lisa tries to defend herself and she's like, I'm a faithful, I'm a faithful, I'm a faithful. Colton's a traitor, I'm a faithful. I was actually really worried about her that she was going to gather all those votes and be out because that wasn't a really great defense. If anything, she should have been throwing Colton more under the bus. She should have brought up the deal that Colton mentioned in the billiards room. That she should have been like, hey, everybody, you should have heard what Colton said to me just before this roundtable, that he took me into the billiards room one-on-one where he says, I think you're a traitor, but I want to win this game with you. So I'll protect you at the roundtable if you protect me up at the turret. Now, I was completely shocked by this because one, I am a faithful. I told him many times I am a faithful. But if Colton truly is a faithful, why would he try to make a deal with someone he thinks is a traitor? Why would he want to save me at the round table? And he wasn't even going to mention my name until people were starting to put him in the hot seat. That should have been the way she went about it. Instead, she just kept on saying, I'm a faithful, I'm a faithful, I'm a faithful. We get down to the votes. Colton gets 4 votes from Lisa, Tara, Johnny, Kristen. It comes down to Lisa getting 5 votes. One of them is Rob, putting her in danger because at that point, Lisa had 5, thanks to Rob. Ron had 5, going into the last vote with Mark, and Mark voted for Ron. So Ron is banished. He gets up in front of everybody and says, I'm a faithful. Ellen gets in front of everybody saying that it is unfortunate that you banished yet another faithful, but look on the bright side, I'm throwing a banquet for everybody and everybody just needs to get on their best clothes and meet me down for this banquet. Now we do get a little talk post-vote, but before the banquet, where at the bar, Lisa confronts Colton in front of a ton of people, being like, I am more than a housewife. I understand where you're trying to be like housewives all work together and would never vote against each other. But I'm also playing a game and holding me to a standard of housewives never vote each other. And that's what's expected of me. I'm my own person. And then on top of that, Colton says, well, you're not acting the way I expected you to act in here. And Lisa was like, that's the word I wanted to point out. That just because I'm not acting the way you expected me to act because of the stories you heard or what you saw on the TV doesn't mean that I am guilty. Now, she is guilty, but I thought that was a really strong argument. I also don't like all the little sly comments that Colton does, like, oh, you're not wearing your glasses today. It's so nice to see your eyes. And, oh, this is the Lisa I wanted to see. Finally, it only took a couple of days to see her. Those comments are unwarranted and feel very condescending in my opinion. Now, after the vote, this is where we go to the kitchen where the Traitors have a mini reunion, and Candace and Lisa both confront Rob of what are you doing? Why would you vote and possibly put Lisa that close to danger? Rob tries to defend himself, being like, well, people know I'm close with Ron and close with Colton. If I voted against either one of them, that would be a red flag and raise suspicions if you voted Ron or Colton, but you didn't even think about what it would do to our dynamic. But they have really no time to really drag this out because they have to get ready for the banquet, as well as we get a flashback in Traitors Tower where Alan says that at the banquet, they have to eliminate in plain sight yet again. One traitor will have to wear the cursed amulet where they have to get a faithful to touch it. The first faithful to touch the amulet will be eliminated in plain sight. Lisa decided that she was going to wear it, and now here, after everything that happened, Lisa's like, maybe I won't be able to get Colton to touch the amulet. And now she's thinking, we have to figure out a different thing. We have to go a different route in who will touch the amulet, or who I'm trying to get to touch the amulet. And this is where I'm nervous, right? I'm nervous that Johnny, who is now trying to gather everybody up, that either him or one of the other 7 players, minus Candace and Rob, of course, that they will be taken out. When we're just getting a group of faithfuls to try to work together to play the game, and I just don't want any one of those players gone. Also, I forgot to mention it, but at the bar conversation with Lisa and Colton, Colton stood up in front of everybody and was like, I want to make an announcement to all the traitors in this room. You better take me out tonight, because from here on out, I'm just going to go for all the shields. And it's going to be really difficult to take me out. Dude, you got 4 votes. At this point, you're more likely to be banished than be taken out by the traitors at this point. And realistically, if this wasn't an eliminate in plain sight, I think this would have been a perfect time to take out Colton. Because if you're Lisa, then you can try to do reverse psychology and be like, look, the traitors are trying to pin this on me. Why, if I'm the traitor, would I take out Colton? Now, granted, I think with Lisa getting 5 votes and almost being banished, she's going to be voted out sooner rather than later. Because even if she makes it past another vote or 2, there's going to be a point where the trail is going to go cold on the traitors, and people are going to start leaning back on people that they were already suspicious of. Now, because Lisa got the second amount of votes, almost was banished tonight, I feel like Lisa could be in the line of fire sooner rather than later, as well as possibly Colton as well. Because people could look at Colton being like, he just threw one of his traitors under the bus. But that is it for this week's episode. We are left off on a cliffhanger with everybody getting ready for the banquet. Lisa is putting on the cursed amulet, and I'm just like going through all the possibilities of who will touch the amulet first. I'm hoping it's not Johnny, Tara, Mark, Kristen. Like I said, I really like this mission. I thought the Roundtable was highly spirited, one of the closest votes we've had thus far, as well as I love to see the faithfuls that weren't getting a ton of screen time, like Johnny, Tara, and them gathering up faithfuls and really wanting to play this game, and having people who think that they are completely safe, like Colton, start to put them in the hot seat. I kind of wish we had episode 7 ready to go because I want to see what happens at this banquet. The preview to next week's episode looks like it's going to be a wild, wild time. Alas, we have to wait to see what happens until next week. What'd you think about this episode? Please let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about the whole Lisa versus Colton? Were you sad to see Ron be banished? What'd you think about the mission in the cabin? And who do you think will touch the cursed amulet? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm so excited for next week's episode. Things are really heating up, and my mind is going to be swimming with all the possibilities of what could happen next week. I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Traitors content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.